Have you ever felt suffocated by today's noisy streets and remembered America in the middle of the last century, where you could sit down on a two-level coach with refreshing air conditioning from a lofty, sweeping view, cushioned comfortably as you cruised effortlessly down endless highways? Then now is the perfect moment to reminisce with the GMC Scenicruiser two-level coach.
An old Greyhound named Honeysuckle Rose, she's the only woman I really love.
Standing over 11 feet tall, it made all the other long-distance coaches look like mere coaches. The Scenicruiser was different. It became a proud part of the American culture because it embodied freedom of movement, a thirst for discovery, and that spirit of adventure deeply woven into the American soul. In this video, we'll uncover the story of a true American industrial legend, the two-level GMC Scenicruiser. We'll follow its artist journey from early sketches, test runs, failures, and improvements, to how it redefined the standard of travel for ordinary Americans and ultimately became a lasting icon of passenger transport and the culture of this land of the free. And yet, this machine was only produced for 3 short years, from 1954 to 1956, with exactly 1,001 units ever built. So what happened?
Relaxing while we're riding in a Greyhound bus. We're seeing all the scenery in Comfort Plus.
The very first prototype of the Scenicruiser was called the GX1. It all began with the success of the 1940 3751 Silverside, powered by General Motors' exclusive Detroit diesel 671 engine, built specifically for Greyhound, a giant in America's passenger transport industry, founded back in 1914. Always seeking to innovate and make their coaches superior, Greyhound's determination grew stronger than ever after World War II. Over 7 years of unwavering effort, building upon the GM 1940 Silverside platform and guided by the masterful hand of legendary industrial designer Raymond Loewy, Greyhound developed its own prototype called the Greyhound Experimental Highway Traveler, or GX1, unveiled in 1947. It was a towering double-decker beast that could carry 50 passengers, standing 11 feet high and stretching 35 feet long. The interior was divided into 3 distinct sections: the sedan lounge on the lower level with 13 seats, the terrace lounge above with 31 seats, and the fore lounge, also on the upper level, offering 6 seats. For maximum comfort, the sedan lounge even featured a restroom and a refrigerator. This ingenious design by Raymond Loewy was honored with an official U.S. patent, a testament to its forward-thinking vision and style. Alongside an interior layout designed to maximize the passenger experience, the heart of the Scenicruiser was also filled with the passion of its mechanical engineers, even though, as mentioned, Greyhound's exclusive Detroit diesel 671 engine by GM was already powerful at 165 horsepower and remarkably fuel efficient. It simply wasn't enough for the GX1, which had a capacity and weight exceeding 34,000 pounds. So Greyhound's engineers equipped it with 2 air-cooled V6 engines from Air-Cooled Motors, a company with a history in aircraft engine manufacturing, each delivering 150 horsepower. This marked the first time air-cooled engines were ever used in commercial over-the-road passenger transport. However, the system turned out to be overly complex and lacked reliability. Combined with a luggage compartment far too cramped for 50 passengers and a double-decker design that stood too tall for many of Greyhound's garages, the project went no further than trial runs. The GX1 was sidelined and eventually dismantled. Then, in 1948, the very team of GM engineers who had created the 1940 Silverside took over the project. Together with Greyhound and designer Raymond Loewy, they brought forth the GX2 prototype, which would soon be named the Scenicruiser, promising to address every weakness of the GX1.
I'll be with you in time for lunch. You meet me at the Greyhound terminal. Well, just look for the name, Super Scenicruiser.
While the GX1 was a true double-decker that stood too tall, the GX2 adopted what's known as a 2-level design, or simply put, a deck and a half. In this layout, the driver's seat, the engine, the first 10 passengers, a restroom, and a massive luggage compartment were all situated on the lower level. A small set of steps connected this first level to the second, which housed seating for the remaining 33 passengers. The seats on the upper level were positioned significantly higher than the road, paired with a sweeping panoramic dome and wide windshields that offered breathtaking views of the highway and the surrounding landscape.
So easy,
So convenient to travel on a Greyhound.
Although the concept of a two-level passenger coach wasn't entirely new, the taste and vision of Raymond Loewy gave the GX2 a look that was more modern, refined, and imposing than ever before. There had been other two-level designs before, such as the 1928 night coach by Pickwick Stages in California, which featured 26 sleeping berths, or the Spanish company Pegaso, which introduced its double-decker Z403 model in 1949. Returning to the GX2, Greyhound's president wanted their coaches to be even longer. As a result, this prototype broke the norms of its day. At a time when federal regulations limited vehicle length to 35 feet, the GX2 stretched all the way to 40 feet, a full 5 feet longer than the original GX1. It ultimately took General Motors 5 years to lobby for changes and secure government approval so that the GX2 could legally operate on American roads. Those 5 years turned out to be incredibly valuable because they also gave the company time to tackle the most critical weakness of the GX1, its lack of power. They started once again with GM's legendary Detroit Diesel 671, trying every way to boost horsepower while keeping reliability and fuel efficiency. But in the end, it all came to nothing. Then, after relentless creativity and countless attempts, by late 1953, GM engineered a whole new powertrain for the production Scenicruiser. It featured 2 Detroit 471 four-cylinder diesel engines, each producing 160 horsepower, linked together by a hydraulic coupling and paired with a 3-speed manual that also featured an underdrive. But here's where problems began. Other Greyhound coaches at the time used a 4-speed manual, and this difference posed a major obstacle for drivers who simply didn't like the new system. Worse yet, this twin-engine powertrain had been hurried into production without undergoing long-term reliability tests. It failed far more often than normal, causing endless trouble for Greyhound's mechanics. Finally, by 1961, the problem was finally solved, though at a staggering cost of $13 million back then, or about $137 million today. They completely replaced the original engines with GM's newest V8 diesel, the 8V71, paired with a 4-speed transmission, retrofitting these super Scenicruisers on 979 of the buses. Thanks to this, there were still about 200 super Scenicruisers in operation in 1975. That was the story on the engineering side. But culturally, Greyhound truly turned the Scenicruiser into a genuine icon on roads all across America. In its promotional materials, Greyhound spared no praise, declaring that with the Scenicruiser, passengers would enjoy comfortable seats, modern restrooms, cool air conditioning or warm heating, along with an incredibly smooth air suspension system, a pioneering feature of its day that genuinely rode like magic. They claimed it was opening a whole new era for long-distance inner-city travel. Greyhound made the most of the Scenicruiser's signature dome and 6-foot-long side windows, letting passengers fully soak in breathtaking views of America rolling by outside the glass, all without the smell of cigarette smoke. This was an era when people smoked freely, and the Scenicruiser's rooftop vents actively drew the smoke out of the cabin. At the time, Greyhound even offered both rest-stop journeys and non-stop services to select destinations. Naturally, with travel this smooth, luxurious, and truly scenic, Greyhound and the Scenicruiser won over the masses. People were thrilled and enchanted. The Scenicruiser became a part of American pop culture, gliding along highways from bustling cities to quiet countrysides, all across this vast nation from the 50s into the 70s. In the 70s and 80s, country singer Hoyt Axton toured in a refurbished 1955 Scenicruiser.
Well, I think I better find me a good truck stop, got a cup of coffee on my mind.
While the band Mission Mountainwood used one from the mid-1970s until 1987. By 2014, it was rumored to have logged over 2 million miles. Thanks to its popularity throughout the 1950s, two-level and double-decker coaches began flooding the market. There were massive 4-axle models like the 1956 Sultana Super Panoramic, more standard options like the Western Flyer Flexible Visaliner, and even the Beck DH-1000. As mentioned, Greyhound retired the Scenicruiser from its fleet in 1975. By then, only around 200 remained, later sold off to private carriers or repurposed by schools, churches, and groups needing charter buses. The Scenicruiser was a convergence of so many American strengths, the giants of design, engineering, and powerful private enterprise all coming together. The Scenicruiser became something truly unforgettable for countless people who traveled by coach from the 1950s through the 1970s. So, do you have any memories of the Scenicruiser? Share them with us and everyone else down in the comments, or simply type nostalgia if this video stirred up even a small piece of your beautiful memories. Thank you so much for watching.